Hello, everyone. I'm R. Blank, and welcome to another episode of the Healthier Tech Podcast, the podcast about creating a healthier relationship with modern technology. Earlier this season, we've talked about digital detox. First from AJ, who has experience running a digital detox, and next from Yannick, who's been through a digital detox and has worked to implement it in his life. Today, we're going to investigate digital detox from another perspective. Dale Hancock is an international confidence coach for kids and the author of the book Raw Confidence, which became the #1 Amazon bestseller in children and teen mental health. He's spoken in the UK Parliament and formed a partnership with Nike to create Just Do It confidence workshops for kids.
So I've got a number of actions just here where the parent is the architect and therefore they are the one that has responsibility. They're the ones that are going to be in control of this. In regard to children, I like to keep it as simple and as easygoing as possible.
Through his work, Dale has had the opportunity to impact and encourage over 50,000 students. And I'm very happy to have Dale on the show today to discuss some of the aspects of tech on children, especially on their confidence, development, and mental health. So let's dive in. Before we begin, a brief word. This podcast is brought to you by my company, Shield Your Body, where it is our mission to help make technology safer for you and your loved ones to enjoy. Inspired by the life's work of my father, Dr. Martin Blank, one of the world's leading EMF scientists, I founded Shield Your Body in 2012, and we provide a ton of great and free resources for you to learn all about EMF radiation, like articles, ebooks, webinars, and videos. And we also have a world-class catalog of laboratory-tested EMF and 5G protection products. From our phone pouch and laptop pad, all the way up to our bed canopy. All of our products are laboratory tested and include a lifetime warranty. Learn more about our products and why we have hundreds of thousands of satisfied customers around the world at shieldyourbody.com. That's shieldyourbody, all one word, .com, or click the link in the show notes. And use promo code POD to save 15% on your first order with free shipping throughout North America, the UK, and Europe. Welcome to the Healthier Tech Podcast, Dale. It's a pleasure to have you.
Oh my gosh, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, my main man. How are you?
Oh, good, thank you. And how are you doing?
I feel like I'm winning today. I got up nice and early. I'm prepared for my day and I'm feeling confident and I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. I got to say, I'm kind of on the same page. So we're aligned for this chat. So to kick things off, could you just give the listeners a little bit of brief background on who you are and the work that you do?
Absolutely. So, hey, everybody. Thank you for listening. My name is Dale Hancock. I am the International Confidence Coach for kids, and I like to use confidence as a tool against anxiety and depression for later on in life. It's almost as if I am preparing young people for any battle that may or may not come their way, just to give them the mental tools to have a successful, winning life.
So I know a lot of your work is about confidence, and I understand the role that you see it playing in really serious issues of well-being like anxiety and depression. What is actually, like, what are we talking about when you say the word confidence? What is confidence?
For me personally, it's completely bespoke to the individual. And this is where a lot of people trip up. So a lot of teachers or coaches, if they're coaching kids or anyone, frankly, so you just need to be more confident. Well, that's absolutely fabulous. But what on earth is it? So it relies completely on the individual input and therefore consequently output of the individual of what they believe about confidence to be. So for me, mine will be completely different to yours. So right now, my definition of confidence is the opposite of self-consciousness, meaning I don't mind what people think about me. I'm just going to get on and do my day. And if I was to turn that around with kids, I would like children to help them understand and solidify that they are the main character of their own story. And there's a few little techniques that we can use to help a child find out their own definition of confidence, because and what's important about that is it helps them solidify it deeply in their unconscious so they can live their day by day in their definition of confidence, because it might land. I could say, well, my definition is the opposite of self-consciousness, but they may not know what that means, but they may not kind of feel acclimatized to that. So it's important to help a child articulate their own definition and their own 3 little step formula to get confident every single day relative to them.
I like that. So I really like and I read that as well on some of your other materials. But what you just said, children are the main character in their story. I think that's a really powerful metaphor through which to just perceive your own life and existence. You mentioned a few exercises that you encourage. Could you give an example of what those exercises, like one, maybe two examples of what those exercises look like? Like what do you recommend that children do?
Okay, that's an absolutely fabulous question. And the key number one point I like to raise in the family, because it's really important to make sure that we build the child from the inside, but also help structure them on the outside by supportive adults. So, identity. That is where it is at. So first of all, if we want any level of confidence, we first of all need to have some sort of understanding of who we are and not to get lost in the ether of everyone else's identity, especially what with social media going on in the world. I'm sure we're going to hit that topic later on. But for now, if I could do a bit of a demo with you.
Okay.
Let's go for it. What is your favorite color?
Yeah, I'm having a bit of an identity crisis on that lately, but my general go-to is orange, so I'll just say orange.
Yeah, for the sake of the podcast, thank you very much. So it is orange, purple. Well, mine's purple, so I'm going to allow my purple to introduce itself to your orange. And when I think of purple, like my specific purple, not just a generic purple, my specific purple, I think of powerful. I think of unique. I think of rare. I think of fun. I think of enthusiastic. I think of strong. And I think of playful. And there's many other things I think of. Okay. So when I think of that, that's what I think of. Just give me 3 words you think of for your color orange.
It was funny because as you were saying all that, I was like, those words all describe orange.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay, so now's your chance. You can pick 3 of them.
So 3 of them, sure.
Yes.
So power,
Yep.
strength, and illumination.
Oh, my word. I love that. Power, strength, and illumination. Wonderful. And if you could for me, tell me your favorite animal.
We go there. Yeah. No, I mean, now you're going to make, my dog is in the room, so I have to say dog. Otherwise she'll be very upset.
Without question. Well, my dog is in the room and he's going to be okay with this because I've strengthened him. It's all good. Mine's a snow leopard. So when you think of dog, what do you think of? What power words again do you think of associated with dog?
Free loving, caring, and loyal.
Amazing. Free loving, caring, and loyal. Cool. I might write these down actually.
Please do, because really I'm actually not taking these notes. So I'm going to want your analysis at the
end. Lovely. And now, if you could do me a slight favor, if you could think of some kind of goosely ghoul or something like a monster, perhaps, that when you were young, you were kind of a bit freaked out with. My thing is ghost girls. There was a thing on Resident Evil. It really freaked me out. I don't know what it was, but I get very scared of ghost girls for some reason. That's one of my things. For you, it could be a zombie. It could be a werewolf from Harry Potter. Something that really freaked you out when you were younger, like a monster. Go for it.
Actually, the Michelin Man. I remember that freaked me out pretty good when I was very, very young.
Good. And what was your reasons, if you could identify them for me right now?
I don't, it's not like I had a waking terror of the Michelin Man. I remember him being a character in recurring nightmares.
Yeah, of course. Okay. And when he popped into your recurring nightmares, what sort of emotions popped up, would you say? Give me 2.
Oh, well, fear and terror.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Fear and terror. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, I know that's weird. I didn't have anything else to.
Well, it's almost close to the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
By that point in time, I'd gotten over it. So by the time Ghostbusters came out, I was fine.
Thank heavens for that. We cannot.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a hell of a movie.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I loved it.
Brilliant. Now, just quickly, this is going to be quite useful for you listeners as well. What I'd like you to do, I'm going to have to trust you on this one because I can't see your face. Do me a huge favor, and all I would like you to do is take a deep breath in. And I'd just like you to drop the shoulders as you exhale. And as you do that, I'd just like you to close your eyes gently and safely. And all I'd like you to do is imagine you're on your favorite beach. right now. Just imagine it for me. And I'd like you to do is just feel the sand in between your toes and feel the sun rays bounce off your skin. And you can see the sunlight dancing off the ripples in the ocean. And you can hear the waves, and it's very enticing. So enticing, you decide to walk over to the ocean, and you take your steps, step by step, getting closer and closer. You can feel the wind. You probably hear some gulls in the background. And you take one step, and you can feel the ocean pool around your ankles. And another step, and another step. And the glorious warm water is just rising above your knees, past your hips, past your chest. And you're just on your shoulders, and you can just feel your tippy toes on the ocean bed. And you bend your knees slightly, and with a sheer excitement, you leap up and just dive and propel yourself through the ocean. And to your absolute astonishment, you realize you can breathe underwater. You realize you can see crystal clear underwater. And you can swim as fast as a bullet, a bit like Aquaman. Where would you go? What would you want to see? Do it now as fast as you can. And just spend 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just gently open your eyes and burst through the ocean surface as you do. And come back to me.
Okay.
A lot of trust in this relationship. I'm going to assume you did that.
I did that.
Fantastic. So, Dan, tell me, when you realize you can breathe underwater and you could go anywhere and you can swim as fast as a bullet, what kind of words popped up to you just there?
Empowered.
Good.
That's a pretty cool feeling to feel like you can breathe underwater and travel as fast as you want.
100%. So you got empowered. Let's go for 2 more. I'm going to push you.
Liberated.
Yeah.
And strong.
Yeah, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, cool. So there's a purpose behind this, obviously. I'm just playing fun and having games. And that's the end of the podcast, guys. I'll see you all later. So there's the whole purpose of that is because when we are young, we don't see colour until we get to roughly around about 6 months. And when we start identifying colour, when we put a label, a word to a certain shape or colour in our lives, our brain is responsible for 3 things, but the main 2 are our functionality of our body, so the mechanics. So right now, everybody, you are listening to this and you're doing an absolutely fabulous job of pumping blood around your body. Congratulations. You're also growing your hair. Well done. That's a good skill, but you're not thinking about those things. It just happens. It's the mechanics. The second thing is survival. It's survival. And sometimes you may have to run away from a bear, highly unlikely, especially if you live where I live, but you might have to run across a busy road and your brain switches on to activate that. Unfortunately, sometimes our brain is a bit dumb. It doesn't know the difference between a real danger and a made-up danger. For example, children putting their hand up in class to answer a question. So, why do we do that for? Because what we're doing here is we're understanding the purpose of our self, our identity. And this is a 4-step process that I go through with every single child to figure out who they are so they can come to terms with their level of confidence. So why do we do the colour for? Because when we first see colour, our brain automatically, for survival purposes, it latches on to our favorite. We feel safe with that. There's often certain things in our life that we're, especially as we're a developing mind and growing up, we want to attach onto things to keep us safe. It's a very, very cool mechanism. And in fact, frankly, far superior than adults because our brain is, we're working in theta brainwaves, which is fabulous. If you want more information on that, I suggest everyone go and see Dr. Bruce Lipton talking about the imprint phase. So what we're doing here is we are figuring out a child's favorite color. And if we look for what we do is when we find our favorite color, we search for that throughout our lives. Then there may have been, if it's for you, an orange. There may be a time when you're playing a board game, you select the orange piece, or you've got certain orange clothing. I was working with a 25-year-old male recently, and his favorite color was like a deep blue, and guess what color his BMW is? A deep blue BMW. He didn't want any other color. So we search for that. And because we've been identifying with that, because we've had that in our psychology for however many years of our favorite color, what we do is, I think you can gather where I'm going here, is we are attaching part of ourself to that favorite color. So I kind of tricked you in a way. When you thought of powerful, illuminated, wonderful, strong, maybe even elite, you're not actually thinking about that of your orange. Secretly, but not so secretly anymore, you are now thinking about yourself. So you think those words about yourself. And that's really important for a child to understand, especially with the fact they get lost in social media, they get lost in the classroom, they get lost in the class of they're 1 in 30 kids, and then 1 in 80 in the year group, and then 1 in 600 in the entire school. They lose themselves. They don't know who they are. So what I do is I secretly trick kids into identifying some power words, and that's them. So there's a psychology behind that. Shall I continue on?
No, well, so where you, and this is, I really am enjoying this conversation. But what you just said, I think, kind of gives me some hints as to how technology plays into this system of belief that you're explaining and that you advocate. Can 100%,
you? 100%. I'm going to polish off the other ones for me for 2 seconds. So when we think about thank you. When we think of our favorite animal, these are the traits. So you've put loyal and free loving, etc. These are the traits that you look for in friendships. And guess what? This is who you are and wanting in a friendship. This is who you are when you are associated with other people. And this is good because it helps children clarify the sort of people they want to hang around with and steer clear from, which just so happens to be, in your case, people that elicit traits like the Themichelin man, which is fear and terror. So there may be some sort of bullies around there or people doing dangerous tasks. Those are the sort of people that you want to avoid because they elicit some fear or terror response. We could go a bit more deeper in that, but I'm aware of the time. And the last one, when we did the ocean task just there, you said empowered, liberated, strong. There's thousands, by the way, thousands in your brain that we could dug into. This is the future you want. And this is really cool because it helps a child identify who they are at the present, right now, who their support mechanisms or the traits or the characteristics of particular support mechanisms they need in their life and want in their life, and where they want to go in this life. And we can use all of those traits just there and combobulate a confident sentence around what they want. So you could have something like, I will operate powerfully every single day and stick close with free, loving friends and feel liberated every day. And you search for them. And that could be I just made that off the cuff, actually.
No, that sounds great. I mean, good. So you're going to help me get all that?
Yeah, there we go. And what we do is we write our power sentence down. We can put it on our phone. We can write it down. We can say it every single morning when we wake up. It's cool doing affirmations in the mirror. Sometimes some people feel uncomfortable with it, but if we can really focus the long affirmation and create this power sentence or this confidence boosting sentence and say it every single day, we start living it. And as you must be thoroughly aware, where our thought goes, our energy goes. So if we can use our thought to influence our words, then that's going to affect our actions in the day.
So, and this is a type of exercise that you would run with children.
Yes, frankly, I do, and adults as well. I did this when I did a corporate event with GE, General Electric. And we did it. We focused it around relationships as well. So, and that was really, really useful. So it can be used for anybody, frankly.
So jumping back, and we're going to talk about what we just did because you just psychoanalyzed me on air.
Forgive me.
We're going to get every cent of value out of that experience. But earlier on, you described confidence in your definition. You said everyone's it's a bespoke definition, and at least one aspect of your definition is the opposite of self-consciousness, that you don't care what people think of you. I would imagine that gets harder in a world of social media, right? You need to be more resilient against alien opinions and thoughts when you are exposed to them all of the time.
You are 100% correct. And I would say that all of us right now are quite lucky, especially over the age of, 30, let's put it that way, because
you're so kind. Yeah.
I'll stop it. And the reason being is because that we didn't have to ride the social media wave when we were developing through our social phase of our life. So if we were to break our life down into 4 different phases, so you've got the imprint phase, the development phase, the social phase, and more of the more ambitious phase of our life. The social phase occurs between roughly the ages of 12 to 19, sometimes a little bit longer. So I didn't experience social media in that time. And that is so tough because all we want to do in that phase of our life is make friends, grow our troop. We want to avoid our chat with our mummy and daddy because they're just white noise now. Mummy and daddy say the same thing at the same time of day with the same tonality, using the same words, and just goes in one ear and out the other. So we are looking for acceptance and companionship and belonging elsewhere. And it's almost like the paralysis of Netflix. Have you ever done this? I don't know if you've got Netflix. But
the answer is yes. Yeah, no, I have. We know last season we talked about tech addiction, and I had to come. I had to come face to face with the fact that Netflix counts as tech addiction.
Well, absolutely. Well, also the tech analysis. Sorry, the Netflix paralysis. I sit there, and sometimes me and my partner, we sit there, and unless we don't have any awareness, we're like, what should we watch? Well, we'll flick through. 20 minutes later, we're still flicking. There's so much choice, and that's what it is in a tribal sense. With children, there's so much choice, and sometimes they can make the wrong decision if they can't identify themselves. And they do not know themselves enough and who they want to show up in the world and who they want to gravitate towards. So it's really tough for us because we haven't been through the social phase, but they're currently going through that now.
Yeah, no, I have long been thankful that I used to be, you probably don't know this, but I used to be in software development, and I had a software engineering firm for a couple of decades, and I was surrounded by tech. I love tech. But even then, I was so thankful that I did not have to grow up in the age of Facebook, and it's obviously expanded much more beyond Facebook now. But so that, yeah, I just can't imagine the pressures and influences that are on children these days.
Yeah, it's absolutely heartbreaking, especially if they haven't been guided in the right way by adults, parents. But guess what? They haven't lived it. So what can they possibly do to help a child grow through that phase?
Yeah. So what? What can?
Well, I've got actually. I've created a little list of actions. If you would like to hear what's helped me and my clients.
Yeah, and if you could kind of identify, what is it that you do with children? Which of these actions are related to what you advise children versus which of these actions are what you advise their parents?
Yes, that's a very, very good point. So the key architect of the household is the parents. So this is age depending, really. So I've got a number of actions just here where the parent is the architect, and therefore they are the one that has responsibility. They're the ones that are going to be in control of this. In regard to children, I like to keep it as simple and as easygoing as possible. But I'm going to dig into the parent sort of. And by the way, these are actions that's help my clients and myself as well. So, first of all, if we're looking at children that are developing from the ages of perhaps or early age children, so if we go, let's say 3 to 12, primary school, or primary school over here in the UK, there's a lot of evidence that suggests that children should definitely not be using any screen time before the age of 2. So 24 months, they shouldn't do that. They shouldn't do that, and that's from the World Health Organization, and there's many reasons for that. So yeah,
and if I may ask, is that because they're so young? Is that one? If parents are on board with that one, is that generally very easy to enforce, or do you find parents have trouble even with that one?
Well, that's the thing, really, isn't it? We need to define what we're talking about screen time, because there's many parents that will just think, well, I sit my child down in front.
We seem to have lost Dale. I don't see any waveforms.
Or am I here now? There we go.
Great. Yeah. Can I ask that question? So just pretend I just asked that question and pick it back up, please.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, that depends on the type of screen. So are we talking about a screen where the child sits in front of Netflix and watch Peppa Pig? Or are we talking about shoving an iPad in front of them so they can just play on certain games? So it's really cavalier of me just to say no parent should allow their child to watch any TV, but that's really tough because life happens and life can be quite stressful as a parent. They've got to work, they're raising a child, and sometimes parents need a respite as well. So the first thing which is a key priority is the parent's mental health, and the parent is the one that's first. So if a child is sitting down and they're drawn to Peppa Pig or something, then an hour just to kind of have that respite, that switch over time. But as long as you hold the balance in regard to doing physical things and playing and interaction, playing brickwork and building things and just having those facial expressions, that's really, really important as well. So
you're not just advocating, and I apologize for jumping in, but I have a lot of questions here. So you're not just advocating no screen time, you're advocating active replacements to screen time.
Yes. Okay. If that's possible and doable for a parent, because we all do lead busy lives, and I know. In fact, I've got a friend of mine who's got a child now, and she's 2 years old, and oh my gosh, it's a 24/7. It's a 24/7 job, and parents. It's really hard to be a parent in this day and age, especially with the pressure of work and whatnot. So I would say I would advocate replacement time, and if anything, if you are struggling with entertaining your child, the best thing would be to do is just almost like a baton. So mummy, then daddy, then mummy. And it's not uncommon for a child, especially before the age of 2, just to latch onto one parent. In fact, that tends to happen. That's very, very common, where the baby will latch onto the mother per se, or the father. And even if it's the dad taking them off, and they cry their eyes out because they want to be with the mummy. But if you can stimulate more people in their lives, stimulate more action to help them interact with new people and different people, that's really going to help you as well. So if anything, organisation is key just here, because you can organise play dates, you can go and see the grandparents, you can keep things active and moving and mobile, spend some time with nanny and grandpa, and just keep the flow of human interaction as high as possible, and keep that contact. And that's a replacement for screens. Just saying, on a little caveat to that, if you are by yourself and perhaps a single parent, don't harm yourself mentally by feeling washed out, drained out, and completely burnt out. A little bit of Peppa Pig, and by the way, not sponsored by Peppa Pig at all. I don't know why I keep mentioning that for. Their other shows are available, but
it's fun to say though. But yeah,
it is.
So if I can ask then, before we move on, because we're still at this 2-year benchmark, and you can answer this one of two ways. You say no screen time before age 2. What is the harm of screen time before age 2, or what is the benefit of limiting screen time before age 2?
Yes, it's a very, very, very good question. So unfortunately, what's happening with the child is they are in the imprint phase of their life. So their brain's working in theta brain waves, and they're just absorbing everything, and they're doing everything they possibly can to survive on this planet. And if a child before the age of 2, a child's brain works a lot differently than an adult's brain. It's almost like, in fact, a child's brain, if I can give it this way, if there were 10 chimpanzees all in a line, and we were to look at their faces, we all named them, and they were all in an order. And then adults turned around, and then we shifted where the chimps were located, and we had to turn around and guess which order they were in by identifying the chimp, and therefore giving them the same name that was given beforehand. I couldn't do that. We couldn't do that. You couldn't do that. Whereas a baby's brain, especially almost before the age of 7, probably 4, they can identify the chimps. They could identify the chimps. They can see, if we shuffle the order, they can see which order goes in what order, which is absolutely fascinating. So when they do that, The reason I'm saying this for is because when a child is absorbing all of that information from the screen time, they come in a lot more dependent on it, and they'll be reaching out for it. They'll become a lot more dependent, and it's just a matter of time before the parent just thinks, "Oh, I've just had enough," and here we go. So it actually limits creativity skills. It stops so for example, awareness. It kind of reduces, this is the research that I've read, it reduces the sensory acclimatization. So if you think about it, a child's just looking at one place, at one thing, and they're not being alert to other places. So it's reducing their sensory output, as it were. And the benefits of not having screen time will be the opposite of what I just said. So the benefits of not having screen time and replacing that with more interactions with human beings is fantastic, because it's going to help boost social skills. It's going to help increase sensory awareness of around them, amongst other things as well. I can give you a giant list.
So that's good. So there's, your goal is no screen time before age 2. Then what happens at age, 2.5?
Well, then we can gently introduce it. So if I was to be completely anal, then we could say from 3 to around about 4. Then you're probably looking at an hour or so a day. It's all to the discretion of the individual. But also, what's really, really good about this is that I would definitely introduce screens, but I would have a heavy schedule on it. I would make sure there's a family plan around screens. I would make sure as well there is a room that is completely screen free. No phones by the parents, no TV in there. And more than likely, you're looking at the dining room where we sit down and have a meal. And this is really good, because if we remove the screens, I know the child may not be aware of it, but if we do not incorporate those habits and those family values early on with a child, then incorporating them when they're 12 or 16 is absolutely completely solid to do. It's like pushing a boulder up a Mount Everest. It's so hard to do. So I would say, just to introduce it on 1 hour, probably a day, if that, and then you can gradually increase that as you go. Now, we must, and that includes TV too. What we must do as well is, if you can be really, really anal on the time of day and the length of time they are on it, and if you can, identify a timing mechanism as well. So we're talking about very, very young kids, and we need to incorporate this as we go. And we need to say, because you're, 5 years old, because you're older, obviously speak to them as you would speak to them. You've reached 5 now, so now we can do this. But before we do that, let's go and do this instead. And what I mean by that is, it's important to make sure that we incorporate a balance, a habit of balance. And that means going out, playing, being physical, climbing a tree, and then using screen time.
But then the kids go to school at some point. How can you effectively manage their screen time once they leave the house?
So with screen time, this is really good as well. So when they go to school, they can come home, and if they've got any homework or they talk throughout the day, you can have a conversation with them. Then you can introduce the screens if you so wish. Screen time in regard to school, so they could have IT lessons. You're probably looking at, when I was, so when I was in school recently, actually, they have 2 hours of computing a week. So that's not that intrusive on their well-being. But at the weekends, then this is where it really comes into play as well. This is where the structure is. Children need structure. This is why lockdown was so tough, because, as you're fully aware, screen time shot up immediately. And the real question is, did technology, did screens save us during lockdown, or did it hinder us?
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer could be both.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So again, if you are being very, very anal in regards to screen time, you can find out what lessons they had throughout the week, of which parents should know the timetable of their child, to be perfectly frank, so they can see if there's any computing on there, and if they do feel like not having any screen time on those particular days, then that's absolutely fine. I'm working with a family at the moment in London, and they only have screen time 3 times a week throughout the week. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and that's it. And they're non-negotiables.
What you're describing here, right, sounds great if a parent comes to you when they have a newborn, or even better, 6 months before they have a newborn, and they can kind of plan this out. What happens when a family comes to you and the child is already 10 How
Dun, dun,
how do you work with a family in that context?
That is a very, very, very good question. I'm glad you've raised it because I've just so happened to make some notes on this from previous clients. So look at that. So first of all, if from a developing child, if I can just polish this one off for a second. So
Sure.
from a newborn growing up. So number one, we don't want to be a hypocrite. We need to be super mindful of using our devices in front of children, and we need to be super mindful of showing emotion. So if we're sitting down with our 3-year-old and we're on our phone, that's an and if we see something on the news or somebody sends us a message, like our employee can't come into work and we show frustration, the child's picking up on that. The child will absorb that and have an association automatically because you have with that piece of tech and with that piece of emotion. So that's very, very important. Number two, it's really important to build a family plan. So I need you to get the whole family on board and make sure the kids have an input, especially when they get past the age of 7. We can call it a code. So I don't know. It could be the Hancock Code or the Hancock bylaws or something like that, and you make sure that you on there you have your rewards and you have your redirections. So you can have sanctions or punishments if you want to, but that's kind of heavy hitting. So reward system for doing A, B, and C, and if it goes against the rules, then it's the redirections or refocus. And then every single month have a family Olympics, and we play games. And this is really cool because it helps teach a child to lose. And there's a lot of emphasis on that because not so long ago, there were no awards given out for children that won because it made the losers feel bad. But that's not what life's about. So the Family Olympics could involve some physical tasks like running or climbing a tree or doing hopscotch or I don't know, something physical, board games, and using virtual games as well. So actually playing video games. I genuinely believe this is really, really important because you can hold structure around this and have a positive connotation to it. And there's reasons for that, of which I'll explain later. Number 4, no tech rooms. Number 5, screen schedule. And number 6, you coach them throughout the process as well. Okay, so there we go. If we move on to your question, what if, Dale, there is a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old and we've only just heard this conversation? What do we do now? Are they lost forever down the urethra of virtual reality? No.
Wow, that is quite an image. Yes, please continue.
Absolutely. So with parents, it's really, really important to be completely emotionally stable when we're doing this. So if you can imagine right now we're having a podcast, and if a child comes in, if you've got a child, if your child comes in and says, right, that's it, done now, Dad, come on, let's go. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm saying it will probably be an 11 because you're frustrated because you're 35 minutes into a podcast and you're doing this. Well, that's the equivalent of going up to your child and having no boundaries or no barriers and just turning off the Xbox and saying, right, get off now, we're doing this now. It's so important to them. Gaming is so important to them. So adults need to be super, super respectful. And it's not a question of, well, it's my house, it's my rules, and I pay for the electricity. Great. You can be like that and be super old-fashioned if you want to, but it's not going to help your child be on your board, be on your team, be on the family team. Why is this important? Because if we go about doing that in such a nonchalant kind of it's my way or the highway autocratic style of teaching, coaching, or parenting, whatever you want to call it, then they are not going to come up to you when they're 16 years old with a problem. And sometimes it could be a very serious problem, especially what's going on nowadays. And one of my sole aims is to help children open up to their parents, to trusted adults. So that's super important. So step 1, I'll get there in a second. I'm rabbiting on, aren't I? Okay. So step 1 is walk alongside them. And what is this? So if your child's playing, I don't know, Roblox or Minecraft or something like that, or any other game, maybe even Fortnite, who knows, walk alongside them. Ask to watch them for a little bit. because what's going on here is, as we spoke about before, about identity, a child, when they're playing the game, they have identified with the characters, they have identified with the game, they've got a good social network, because unfortunately there's this almost metaversical, that's not a word, but you know what I mean. They are speaking to other children on the game as well. And if a parent goes in there with the mindset, oh, this is a stupid game, this is rubbish, why are you playing that rubbish for? You need to go outside and play, blah, 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 blah. Children will take that as a personal attack. So we mustn't do that. So walking alongside them means sitting down, watching the game, and being really curious about the game as well. Oh my gosh, what's that thing do? Oh, you just shot him. That's crazy. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I know so many adults and so many parents that use this time to talk to their child, even if they're playing, because what they're doing is they are just being so, they answer the questions so unconsciously. So they say, so I've incorporated this before, where parents have parent-child talk time about school. But by the way, the most boringest question that a parent could ever ask, and everyone listening to this podcast is banned from saying this, is the sentence, "Oh, how was school?" It's so boring. It's so boring. You're banned from that. Say something like, "Oh, what was the funniest thing that happened at school today?" Or what was the weirdest thing that happened at school today? And if you are struggling, then you break into what you were like at work. Oh my gosh, Sandra from work, you wouldn't believe it. She told all the coffee, or she burped and she passed, or whatever, something funny that breaks a pattern. And then you can say, what happened to what was funny that happened to your day at school today? Who's your favorite teacher? Whatever it might be. So walk alongside them, sit on the game, be super, super interested. This automatically breaks the parental white noise pattern automatically. And then you could be watching, being curious, playing the games, and big them up as well. You can the next, don't do this all at once. My word, you don't want to overwhelm the child. And this is a step-by-step process, which could take a long time, and it's definitely worth it. The next time you go and sit with them, step number 2 is big up the games. So you say, oh, by the way, do you know what? Frankie, you're playing this game. Did you know that playing computer games is really good with decision making, leadership skills, and reaction time, amongst other things as well? You can Google it. So this is really, really cool. When you go to school tomorrow, this is a bit random, honestly, really, really random, but I know you like football. How can you use your computer games that you're playing now to help you become a better footballer? Maybe a better leader? Would you need to make decisions quickly? You can just really talk about that and really big up the games as you're playing. Step number 3 is a pattern interrupt. So this is all whilst they're playing the computer game. So in this instance, so they're playing a computer game, or they're whatever, they're on social. It could even be social media. You want to learn about social media, let's say, but they're playing a computer game, let's say, and a pattern interrupt. You could even swear. Age depending, if they're a teenager, like we're talking 16 or something, that's probably. But then again, it's all about family values and etc. But that will really interrupt a child's pattern. You could even research the game and find a little bit of information about what move does what, or what is this, or what character is who. And then when they're playing the game, say, oh my gosh, that's Billy the Banana, or I don't know, something like that. And that will really interrupt their patterns. Mom, how do you know that? So, how do you know? I'm just really interested. That's really, really good. And then you go off and do your own thing. Be a coachee. So number 4 is be a coachee. Help them coach you. Maybe one day you could say, oh, can I have a bit of a play? And yes, this is very long-winded, and this is a bit of a time constraint. Be a coach, you've been play. Hey, Jessica, can you teach me how to use Snapchat or TikTok? Because I'm going into a business now and I really want to grow. What's the best hashtags to use? And I don't want to do a dance, so don't worry, Mommy's not going to do a silly dance. It's okay, but how can I use it? What can you help me? Help me out. If you wanted to, there could be even a little bit of a mini allowance. This is really useful. A mini allowance here saying, can you be my TikTok coach, please? And this is really good because it's helped growing their entrepreneurial mindset, which is so important these days. And then number 5, educate and ask why. So ask why. What? So just briefly, what makes you want to play this game for? By the way, when I say the word why, a child's developing brain cannot process the word why, because why tends to occur almost in the prefrontal cortex of answering things, and children can't answer that. That's why judgment takes place. So this is why children have, especially teens, have such a tough time with acceptance or bullying or making the right decisions, air quotes, because this is where judgment takes place. It's the last part of of the brain to develop. So what makes you want to play this game? What's cool about this game that you like? And then you can educate yourself. You could say you can move forward to future pacing the child as well. This is quite useful as well. So ask for help of doing this. So playing a computer game. Oh, Charlie, if I was to play this computer game for 5 hours a day, what do you reckon it will do for me? Is it good? Is it useful? Could I use this for an interview if I want to get a new job? Perhaps. You're really starting to do a little bit of kind of almost reverse psychology with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're social engineering the child.
Yeah, spot on. You are social engineering a child, absolutely. And the last one is do something random and thank them. So what do I mean? It could just be as you're having conversations with them. It could be over dinner. You could be saying, "Oh, how is Fortnite? What's going on with Fortnite?" over dinner, or what's going on the way home. It could be, "Oh, just how many of your friends play this game?" "Oh, really? That's really, really cool." Blah blah. Chat. Listen. I want to go for a walk, or I want to climb a tree, or I want to do this, I want to be fitter. Can you help me? And because you've done all of this work with them, because you're not minimizing them, or you're not belittling them for playing computer games, you're not disrespecting them for playing computer games or being on social media, then they can see that you are walking alongside them for the betterment of them, and you thank them. And remember, as you're going through this as a parent, it's super important not to be attached to expectations, because obviously the guy would completely understand this. If we're attached to expectations, we're going to be sorely disappointed for the continuation of our life. So we've got to make sure that we stay reserved in regard to expectations. But deep down, the child will see that you are making an effort. And because you've changed your usual white noise pattern and interrupting your own patterns and being of interest and being interested with the child, then that will help them be more on board with you. And then you could ask them, go back to our original family plan, ask them to write up a family plan just here, because you could see how it could be affecting the family. And this is a little family plan that I'd like to do.
No, that's great. And so in an average kind of situation, how long does that 7-step social engineering plan really take to pay off?
Yeah, so it could take as short as a month. It really could. It could take 6 months. It depends on the relationship and the rapport of the parent to the child. It could be even shorter, because they could go for a different game. And so if there's a different game, you could really jump on board with this. Or what the common phrase they use nowadays is, "Oh, Fortnite's dead," which means it's not very good. I didn't know that. So, it's dead, is it? Fantastic. So what are you going to do now with your time? Is there another game, or are you going to do something fun? Are you going to go outside? Are you going to do this, etc.?
So you're this plan, and I see kind of the let me say the orientation of this plan. I see what it's aimed at, and I understand that how it's designed to kind of ease the child into a different frame of mind. What my question is, this is all towards a goal, and I'm wondering, do the children? And I know that tech management is only part of an overall system that you cover, but when you've walked children down this path, do they start recognizing? Are they aware of the improvements to their life as a result of the system?
This is a fab question. The only way that I have seen this is when I get my mini clients and my little warriors on a level 2 program, which is for parents in particular, understanding that there is no stopping social media. Web3 is coming. It's already here. The metaverse is already here. So we've got to figure out a way to be completely on board, but have balance in our lives, physically, virtually, and emotionally as well. And if we need to understand as well that if something's not serving us from a child's perspective, we need to let go, which is very tough at that age. So in regard to, I was going to say just social media, but in regard to gaming, what's really fabulous about gaming or just social media is be a producer, not a consumer. Be a creator and not a producer. So we first have to identify, when I work with children, I have to identify their passion. I have to identify what they are really, really not good at, great at. What are they great at? And what do they like doing? And what maybe they could get paid for later on in life. I'm working with a boy at the moment who we've used the social media to grow his YouTube following. He's got a little YouTube which is Minecraft builds, and it's absolutely fascinating. He's got to roughly around about 304 subscribers now, and his little face when he's hit that number is just phenomenal, because that is showing self-development, self-achievement, and he's using social media for good. And as we're going through it, I'm teaching him how to do thumbnails. I'm teaching him all about the background, how to create videos, what's the best software, what microphones can we use. So when we figure out a child's passion, we can figure out a way to help them become a creator, not a consumer. And there could be children in the thick of it that are just producing just consuming. I was working with somebody the other day who, oh gosh, how old? She's 16 years old, and she's got more of an awareness now. And she spent 4 hours scrolling on TikTok. So I had to help. It's absolutely abundantly bizarre.
I mean, that's what it's engineered to do, but it's still so amazing to hear it. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's so important for me to champion the fact that is social media stronger than you, or are you stronger than social media? How often can you put the controller down or the phone down? I give random homeworks, which is halfway through a game of and oh my goodness gracious me, I get a lot of stick from the kids. They hate me sometimes. With a little reward system that I've got, and we incorporate with the parents, one of their homeworks or challenges is to, in the middle of a FIFA game, so a football game over here in the UK, in the middle of a FIFA game, you play one whole game, and then halfway through the middle of one, I want you to turn it off, and I want you to video it for me, please. And that's fab, because they turn it off, and they don't, and it's very hard to do. And even if they don't, I say, so what happened? What was blocking you? What was keeping you switched onto that? Is FIFA stronger than you? What did you lose? Oh, lose FIFA coins or FIFA points, really? And and you can spend them at McDonald's, right? Or you can spend them out and about. No. Oh, what can you spend on characters and cups? Oh, what? Okay.
You're being scammed, kid.
Yeah, well, exactly. I help them get a different perspective on what on earth is happening with them, and they're honestly, their minds are so precious and so delicate and so vulnerable and so absorbing that if they jump onto any form of social media or gaming or anything like that, or YouTube channel or something, they attach themselves to it, because essentially they are seeking safety. They feel well. They feel happy. It's comfort. You've probably got an evening comfort routine. This is what children are doing. So it's to respect and appreciate the fact they are seeking comfort with tech. They are finding comfort, and that's fabulous. But not when it becomes a detriment. Not when we can find a purpose as to using it for. Not when they are consuming and not creating. Every single child on this planet has the capacity to be a creator, and what better way to do it than social media? But we need to understand what social media is harmful for, what we can do, how we can get around it, and maybe go on a digital dieting to help understand ourselves.
No, I really like the way that you've explained the focus on becoming a creator, because that I feel like that puts the child in a position of increased control and stretches creative muscles rather than just reactive, hypnotic scrolling.
100%, and that needs to be championed by the parents as well. So I had a boy last year who loved Minecraft, and he was very good with his hands. He was very kinesthetic, a very kinesthetic learner. So my homework, and this was over lockdown as well, my homework for him was I want him to get some cardboard boxes, and I want him to make himself a Minecraft character. And he had to go out in the forest with his friends and just play Minecraft in real life. And see what that is like. And is now, well, I don't know if it's now, but last time I heard, he was out building dens with his friends, and he is having so much more fun. So we can use this for good. We totally can.
Yeah, no, it's like it's kind of like the same sort of vibe that you learn when you're studying, kung fu or something. Use the energy, don't fight the energy.
Go with the flow.
So I feel like, I totally actually want this conversation to go on for hours because your approach, it's very actionable information on a topic I find super interesting. And in a minute here, I'm going to give people where they can find more about you and your system. But before we get to the wrapping this up, I did have one kind of other thread I wanted to pull. And that is in your book, Raw Confidence, which everyone can find on Amazon, both Kindle and paperback. I read about a 2014 study conducted at the Queensland School of Psychology. And this one, it had two groups of people. One group received replies to social media posts and another group that didn't. And the group that received replies had a higher sense of belonging than the group that didn't. And that's not surprising, right?
Yes.
But then you mention one additional fact about the study, which is that the replies were from bots, not from humans.
I've heard this. Yeah, carry on. This is fascinating. Yes.
So why do you mention this in your book? What is the importance of this study?
Oh my word. It's amazing because it's almost like a sense of wanting to belong. Wanting that nurture, wanting that external validation, wanting that approval. We are all human beings that are just fighting to survive. Essentially, we're all animals fighting to survive on this planet. But because our primal needs have been met with food, we don't need to hunt anymore. We can just go to a supermarket and get our food, which is absolutely amazing. So those dangers don't really exist anymore. But nowadays, instead that what that danger is now is a feeling of not belonging, not enough friends, not having the right partner, seeking that perfect connection with a friend or a lover. So yeah, it's a really good study, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it really. I mean, when you read it and you find the results, it's not surprising, but it definitely, then you put it in the context of the topics you're talking about, and it really does make you think. One of the parts of it that I wanted to get at in this chat here, right, is if getting likes and replies made you have an increased sense of belonging, then why isn't social media good for confidence building?
Why isn't social media good for confidence building?
Right, because your system is about limiting exposure to social media as an important part of establishing confidence in a child. So why? Go for it.
I'm going to be very convoluted with this answer because it depends on the content. So, for example, if I was a 13-year-old girl and I've just got social media, yay, I'm legally allowed to Snapchat and TikTok and stuff. Brilliant. And post pictures on Instagram. Guess what? I am automatically going to look for the best picture with the best lighting in my phone. And even if I can't, guess what? I'm going to use a filter to put it up there. And I'm going to make sure I get the good angle so my lips are plumped out enough and I'm looking fabulous. Really, really good for whoever wants to see it. And there's something going around at the moment that says posting this might delete later, which is kind of an unconscious message that if I don't get enough likes on this, I'm going to delete it because it's embarrassing because I'm not gone viral or something like that, which is so harmful. So it depends on the content. If it's, I'm going to put it down to one simple sentence. If it's real, the likes are fabulous. If it's fake, the likes are infabulous. So if it's fake in the realm of I've edited this video to the pulp, so to the bare bones, it's not really you, then you are just showing your highlight reel, which is okay. Well, I mean, why not? People want to show that what's going good in their life. They have absolutely, it's wondrous to do that. Other people receiving that, if they're getting jealous or feel there's a comparison, then that's their problem. That's something they need to work on. Why on earth would they be comparing their own life to this life of somebody else? Especially deep down when they know it's not real, then that person needs to do work, and that's absolutely fine. So if it's fake, if it's almost like a bit, a completely edited picture or video, then that's probably not the best thing because it's going to attack their own identity. That deep down, a person is going to know that how edited that is. Where if it's like a real photo or something they're proud of, for example, it could be this boy that's got his own YouTube channel and he's posted up his first ever TikTok, and this is my TikTok short of my YouTube channel, and he gets lots of likes and comments on that, then that's brilliant because he's worked hard for something. So maybe it's in the realm of the work ethics. When you're working hard for something and you get comments from that, recommendation from that, accommodation from that, then it's really, really useful to help boost that. Now, slight caveat, there's nothing wrong with having external validation. In fact, it's great, isn't it? I mean, wouldn't it be cool with your podcast that's kicking off? Wouldn't it be fantastic for people to shout about it and scream about it on social media? That's external validation. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But on a deep level, though, you know full well that you've had to work hard to organize this conversation. You've had to work hard on your brand. You've paid money to amazing coaches. That is worth identifying within you, your own internal validation. So there's a little measure that I like to think of. Before I post something, I ask myself, am I happy with this? Is this going to harm other people? And is this serving my internal validation percent-wise more than my external validation? And then I post it.
I'm sorry, I'm just actually writing that down. What was, in case everyone's like me, what was the third one? So you have, am I happy with this? Is this going to harm people? And the third one?
Is percentage-wise, is this raising my internal validation more over than my external validation?
Okay.
So yeah. So if I'm thinking, actually, do you know what? I'm on the beach. Oh my gosh. So I'm in. My word. I'm in Barbados, and I've been doing a juice fast, and I'm looking ripped, and I'm looking really. I'm going to post this, and I know full well, deep down, on a very primal, chimpy mindset level, I know that I'm going to get loads of likes and it's going to make me feel good because my abs are out. Obviously, that goes completely against my brand because I work with kids, so that's a big fat no-no. But yeah, so it depends really, and how much did I?
That's what you use your Finsta for, as I understand it, not your actual Insta.
Correct.
Well, Dale, this has been a fantastic chat. I love the energy you bring to it, but more than that, this has been really, really good information for my listeners, and I'm just super thrilled that you made the time to come onto the Healthier Tech podcast.
It's been an absolute privilege and an honor. And if you ever need me back later on this year, then all you need to do is give me a whistle.
Oh, careful. Don't get addicted. So if everyone can interested in learning more about Dale, you can check him out on Instagram at Dale Vincent Coaching. And you can find his book, Raw Confidence, on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback editions. Once again, Dale, thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you kindly, sir. Have a powerful day.
As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Stephanie, to chat about the interview. Steph, I thought that was a pretty fantastic interview. You know, when I originally talked to you about planning an episode kind of on these topics, you know, on this theme, I was really looking, well, let me just say it this way. I wasn't anticipating an interview that was this chock full with actionable information. I thought it would be more about the discussion of the importance of digital detox for children, but Dale actually came to the table with, no, this is what you do, and this is how I do it. And obviously, there's only so much you can cover in an hour, but I thought it was really insightful and illuminating.
Yeah, I think it was insightful, illuminating, and super empowering for parents, especially parents who, whether you have a newborn and you're daunted by how do I navigate this, social media, how do I navigate screen time, video game use or overuse. And if you have a child that's say 10, 12, older, who's already established this kind of relationship with devices. And I really appreciate that in this interview, Dale was able to empower the parents to identify not just say like, no, don't use, we need to limit screen time, but also recognizing that this stuff's not going away. So giving parents a refreshing opportunity to look at this, to integrate it into the fabric of, the teaching your children how to be more confident and to take the good stuff out of social media and the good stuff out of even playing video games.
Yeah,
And I thought
the
that
way
was really
the way I
important.
wrote it in my notes is the way the vibe I was getting from the lessons he was teaching is that he teaches parents to recognize and not to fight the reality of their children's lives. And, so like one of the examples is don't just, you can't keep kids off of social media. So instead focus them on becoming a creator, not a consumer. And that seemed to, and I'd never even thought of it in those, you hear the term creator economy all the time now, and more and more people are doing, but I'd never thought of it in the kind of terms that Dale presented it, where, being a creator, it's not just something you do. It actually it creates power for yourself, and it forces creativity in your in your learning and your activity. And another example was don't just limit screen time. You have to plan replacements for screen time, right? Because you can't just say don't do this. You have to give an option for something else to do. And so that really stood out to me in what he was talking about.
Yeah, and to kind of bring it back, and in the beginning of the interview, is Dale was talking about kind of the purpose, and I think this might have gotten lost in some of this just the meat of this interview, is that the purpose of doing all these things as a parent is to build, not just to build their confidence, but to build your children's trust, so that when they need to come to you for something, they know that they can. And part of that is a big part of that nowadays is not diminishing the things that they're interested in, even if you are not necessarily interested in it, or you think that's maybe not useful, not a good way to use time. So, social media and video games. And I thought that was a really important concept.
I'm glad you brought that up, building trust, because I forgot to take that note, but that was super critical to his approach to this whole thing. And I guess that's all part of, but I think the big takeaway, the kind of big picture takeaway that I got from that interview is, because people like me and people in our space often talk about limiting screen time and the importance of limiting screen time. But what Dale really shows is that limiting screen time, that has to be part of a broader approach. It can't be done on its own. You can't just sit down and say, okay, we're limiting screen time in this house. There has to be a plan, and it's part of a bigger plan that encompasses more than just limiting the screen time.
Right. And in addition to that, when making better utilization of the screen time that you have. So I love the concept of bringing some of the valuable things that you learn from. I'm going to use video games again as an example, but there are things you do learn how to make decisions quickly. You do learn, how to react quickly, and bringing that into real life. Like how do parents hone in on those things and bring them into real life and help their kids identify those traits for themselves and bring them into real life. I loved it. I just loved it. What a great interview.
This was chock full. I'm going to have to listen to it a few times, I think. And we really just only scratched the surface, but I'm super thankful that we got Dale on the show. And this was great. I hope the listeners like it.
I agree. Share this with any of your friends who have children. This is his work is essential. I think it's wonderful.
Well, that does it for today's episode. Remember, if you like this show and want to hear more, please subscribe. The Healthier Tech Podcast, available on all major podcasting platforms. And if you have a moment, please also leave a review. Reviews are really critical to help more people find this podcast and learn about the important and undercovered topics that we discuss. Also, you can learn more and sign up for our mailing list to get notified when we have new interviews, webinars, ebooks, and sales at shieldyourbody.com. You can also just click that link in the show notes. While you're there at shieldyourbody.com, you can check out our world-class catalog of laboratory-tested EMF and 5G protection products. Don't forget to use promo code POD to save 15% on your first order from shieldyourbody.com with free shipping throughout North America and Europe. Until next time, I'm R. Blank, and I want to thank you so much for tuning into the Healthier Tech Podcast. Always remember to shield your body.